believe it's just after 7 o'clock and we should begin.
Well, no, I've got one.
Good evening, all.
Evening.
I think we're not in the House of Commons here. So I think we're full house tonight. So welcome to all 16 of us.
I'm a membership person, aren't I?
I'm sorry? Hey. So welcome to the September Full Council meeting. We had public participation from Joe Joseph, but he sent a message to say he can't come. We've got a little announcement replacing that later on. So our only public participation tonight is from my friend Mishket from the Glastonbury Mosque, who's come to introduce us to the mosque and himself to us. So Mishket.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Mishkatur Rahman. I'm the Imam of Glastonbury Mosque, GMC Glastonbury Muslim Community. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Mayor for inviting me and giving me the chance to introduce my community. I'm really honored today to be here. My name is Mishkatur Rahman. I'm the Imam, and I came here today just to introduce my community, the Muslim community, Glastonbury Muslim community, which is in Benedict Street, Glastonbury. Many people know, and some people do not even know there's a Muslim community here. So the Mr. Mayor said it would be better, it would be a good thing if you come here and introduce the community to the councillors. So Glastonbury Muslim community established around 5 years ago, and since then it is giving the service as a Muslim mosque for the prayer. It takes 5 daily prayers as well as the Friday sermon, and we do other campaign like charity campaign, collecting money, clothes for the people who are less fortunate, and also we do other activities like inviting other people to visit our mosque and know about the Islam. Glastonbury Muslim community is a very small and very effective. Not many people, but they came together and started the community. As we say, if we can come all together, we can do better. Like in Glastonbury, I feel one of the peaceful place in UK. I've been in so many places in UK, but Glastonbury Muslim community, Glastonbury is one of the peaceful town. And the mosque is Islam. The word meaning Islam means peace. So I think the God chosen the peaceful place to establish, to launch a mosque here. So my message is that if we can come together, all people from different faiths, different religions, we can do better. I would like to thank you again for inviting me here. Thank you very much all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll light the unity candle and stand for a minute silence. Thank you, everyone.
You can pass me the glass. They're all gone from now. Yeah.
So I should have said at the beginning, welcome to any members of the public. Feel free to stay as long as you wish or leave whenever you wish. There's no fire alarm practice scheduled for tonight. So if the fire alarm goes off, please take it seriously. We'll make our way down the stairs and assemble outside. It's very unlikely, but it could happen. Who knows? With that, apologies for absence. I think we are complete tonight, so no need for any apologies. I'd actually like to take this opportunity to welcome John, Councillor Cousins, who's been unable to be with us for a bit. So very nice to see you. Welcome. Welcome.
Could I just mention, Your Worship, that Somerset Councillor Hart has provided apologies owing to a family commitment.
Sure, thank you. Declarations of interest. Councillor Napper.
Yes, Your Worship. Street Parish Council. Thank you.
Your Worship, I'm a member of the Acton Brew Internal Drainage Board, and I believe there's an item on the agenda related to that later.
Yes, I'm also a member of the Act Brew.
I think we only need new declarations, if I'm correct.
It's any ones that, yes, aren't particularly already on your register of interest, but that there isn't much harm in standing up and also declaring it, particularly when there is an agenda item later on. But thank you, I'll note those.
So any other fresh declarations of interest? Okay. So the minutes of the last meeting, which were the 13th of August.
They were circulated in advance, Your Worship. I'll project them and you can speedily
Okay.
work your way through them. I think the Assistant Town Clerk has made a couple of
Councillor Napper.
slight amendments.
On the minutes of the last meeting, you've got councillors present. My name does not appear there. But on 72, my name does appear.
72?
So, I know
Oh, yes.
I'm
Oh, yes.
absent, I'm not an apology, and I'm not present. So I know I'm pretty inconspicuous, but...
No.
I've made a correction to the front page of these minutes, Councillor Napper, to add you in. I apologise for that oversight.
Thank you.
Any other corrections on page 25? First page.
Albie.
Oh, sorry.
So yes, I had already mentioned this, but I see it still come through incorrect. 72, I declared an interest as working with Southwest Heritage Trust. Nothing to, I have not, oh, there it says Southwest Heritage Trust, but the one I've received is Somerset Rural Life Museum. So the one that came out early, to me, the ones that were sent out last week is incorrect.
Okay.
But here it's been corrected.
I think the ones in this folder were corrected, but yes, the ones you received by email early as a draft copy, but we've made the change since then.
So moving on, page 26. (26), 27. (28).
Not too fast.
29. 29, 30. 31, last page. Are we happy for me to sign the minutes as a true record?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do that.
The actions, Your Worship, while you sign that copy.
Oh, yes, please. Yep. Oh, sorry, Councillor Napper.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's not for accuracy at all. I'm going back to 81, and it's about monies to the Rural Life Museum. And at a meeting in Street Parish Council, I think that Street Parish Council was asked Glastonbury Town Council for monies for Strode Theatre, which have not been brought forward. They would like to give money to the Rural Life Museum, but they would also like to see some money to support Strode Theatre. And I said that I would ask the question, which I'm doing now.
From Glastonbury to Strode.
From Glastonbury to Strode, and then Strode, and then Street to.
Okay.
It is a bit like that, but.
I haven't had any.
Question anyway.
I haven't had anything in writing, Your Worship, from Street Parish
No.
Council about considering giving a grant to Strode Theatre.
Okay, I'll make sure that they receive that. Thank you.
So actions from the last meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship. The previous minutes were corrected. The amendments to the new icon, we considered a number of them. I've made a couple of changes and it is ready to be used. We've included a symbol from the water feature at the White Spring because that wasn't represented in the icon. So myself and the graphic designer with the delegation that the Town Council gave have made that change. And a meeting of the working group for the funding for the South West Heritage Trust had been convened, and I'll take the opportunity to say that we had a very positive meeting up at the Royal Life Museum with the Trust's head of museums, and they have increased the number of annual passes for our community review survey from 250 to 300, and there will be a mix of individual and family annual passes depending on what the individual who wins one of those passes requires. So we will contact all of those winners when the survey closes, and the South West Heritage Trust and the team at the Royal Life Museum will deal with the admin thereon, and we hope those people all enjoy their passes to the Royal Life Museum. So they're the actions from the last meeting, Your Worship.
Any questions or comments? Okay, so let's note the latest crime statistics report.
There was, Your Worship, a supplementary report uploaded, which was a more detailed report that the police provided the Town Centre Crime Reduction Advisory Committee. Now, unfortunately, the type is very light.
So the only one I saw was a comparison between us and Chard.
Yes, so it was slightly more in detail. So that is in the folder. I would encourage councillors to read it. And if you wish for a paper copy, please speak to the Sarahs down in the office. In the meantime, however, I shall put up the statistics. I believe the link was sent with your paperwork.
Any comments or questions on that?
The detailed data from the police gives a much better breakdown of crime types, so I do encourage people to give that a read.
Councillor Pottle.
I'm really just going to put on record again my normal complaint about the violence and sexual offences not being separated out.
They are on this one,
They're not there.
No, they're not. They never are.
They are on the bill there.
Are we happy to move on? So the schedule of payments for September.
This was circulated in advance, Your Worship, and I haven't received any queries ahead of the meeting.
Sure. Councillor Mudge?
I couldn't help noticing that there's something I noticed here. The annual servicing charge for the town clerk. The town clerk's been annually serviced. I think it's meant
To read clock.
I think it's meant to read town. It says you've been serviced, Connie.
What you were
That's good. That's very
I
good.
don't think it was too expensive, though.
I am very cheap, Councillor Mutch.
Councillor Smythe.
I just wanted to query the £450 for disposal of the dead tree from Fisher's Hill. It seemed like something that should have been, I might be a bit naive here, but it could have been disposed of for nothing by people that might want to have the wood for their wood burners.
Which item's that, sorry, Councillor Mutch?
Where is it?
Which number? On the left-hand side, they've all got a number. Which number is it?
Yeah, which number? Sorry, let me just have a quick look.
Begin with a 4.
Oh, look at that. There we are.
It probably more related to tree works rather than necessarily the disposal. So there was a dead horse chestnut tree that was felled.
It just specified the chestnut tree.
But the wood was taken for people to use. We didn't pay the tree surgeon to take the wood away. So that might just be
a small point.
Yeah. But I believe that actually relates to the works being done on the tree, not the disposal of the wood, because it was all left at request.
I just want to clarify something else, which was the electric vehicle charger. We don't charge for that.
We do not. No, the EV charger that is in the car park was taken out under an agreement that we could have the piece of kit for free as long as we provided free electricity for a period of 5 years. So the Property and Assets Committee have considered it. What the Property and Assets Committee decided was that a switch was going to be put on the electric feed inside the building before it gets out to the EV charger, and overnight it will be switched off, but every day when the car park opens, it will be switched back on, because although people who use it do not pay to charge their cars, they do pay to park their car, but it's overnight when the car park is free of charge, and also overnight, because it's a very slow charger, when people with large batteries in their electric cars leave it there overnight to completely fill up, that's what costs the most amount of money. So there's going to be a switch installed, and every day when the parking machines are opened up, the EV charger will be switched on. So that's a way of us controlling the cost, but meeting our obligation to provide the free electricity for the 5 years after the machine was installed.
It's quite significant.
Okay.
It is. It's gotten more popular and electricity's gotten more expensive. But we have to meet the agreement that we signed up to when we took out the piece of kit.
Councillor Smythe.
Having read beforehand the scheduled payments, I propose that this council accepts them.
Are we happy to accept the schedule of payments?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've got a copy of you to sign.
The next up is the budget monitoring report, including Jane's responsible finance officer's comments. So I think we're about 4 months in now to the year.
So I went through and colour-coded it for everyone. Makes it at a glance much easier to understand. Obviously, as you'd expect, only partway through the year, we have not generated all of the income that we are expecting. So there is a portion still to generate, but that is forecast to be generated across the rest of the financial year, so that doesn't cause a concern. You'll see that in all the other areas of expenditure, anything that's an overspend has been highlighted as red. Now that is presenting as an overspend, but that's because we don't actually budget for the recharge of those salaries, because we don't know exactly how much it's going to be. So it's not an overspend, and actually that is income that will come back. Expenditure on public footpaths is slightly higher, but there is a lot more maintenance that's needing to be doing. We've had a very wet period, and also Somerset Council are doing less and less. So there's a slight overspend on public footpaths so far, but we are a popular destination for people who walk, so we have to manage them.
So I noticed the tribunal was way down, not on the year's budget, not a full year, but on what you might expect for the year's budget at the end of the summer.
Yeah, so because we've had staffing problems, it's been hard to keep the tribunal open, and also that was very much a finger in the air. How much do we anticipate that it's going to generate? I can say positively that we now have a very capable manager in place, and I place a lot of faith and confidence in his skills, and we are going to market the opportunity in the tribunal much more with him now here. But it always was, as a brand new venture, Your Worship, that always was a bit of a guessing game.
Just to go back, one comment that Connor made about the overspending footpaths. Somebody brought to my attention that the Glastonbury Way, which is walked by tourists, as you come off Pompile Bridge.
Yeah, we've had that complaint a lot, so that's
badger sets.
oh no, I haven't had a complaint about badger sets.
Complained about because there's badger sets just off the footpath, and because of the long grass, you can't see them.
Right.
So there's risk of breaking an ankle or leg by putting the foot down into a hole there.
Okay. Yes.
And so somebody brought it to my attention. I said, well, actually, that's Environment Agency, not us, but that I'd bring it up.
Thank you.
And mention it.
Yeah, that stretch from Pompile's Bridge, there's been a number of constructive comments about that section, and how unhelpfully someone keeps padlocking a gate that they shouldn't. But the caretakers have gone out and they've looked into it, and they are going to do various bits and pieces out toward that way. So they do have it in.
Look at the long grass around the badger sets, because if it's just cut, then you can see the sets are there.
Stay away from them. Yeah, absolutely. We'll mention that. Thank you.
Anything else on the budget to date? Councillor Smythe?
Could I have some reassurance from the clerk that the painting of the railings down Chilwell Street wasn't included in the footpaths budget?
No, it wasn't, Councillor Smythe. That was taken from the Town Improvements Fund. That was an underspend from last year.
Anything else? Okay, so moving on to item 8 is an update regarding St Dunstan's House and considering applying for a public works loan.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I've given everyone a number of documents, and I have a presentation. So I would encourage you, please, to give the presentation follows the same thread as the document, but the document gives you a bit more information. A few links as well if you look at the online one rather than the printed one. So this is to give you an update on St Dunstan's House and our project next door. The reason that this has come to full council will become evident during the presentation, but as part of the project's cash flow, we need to consider how we're going to pay for the entire project, because there's been a delay in some of our grant funding. So if I give you an overview, so all of you are familiar with the project, which is now underway. We're creating a community health and wellbeing centre that will provide spaces for gatherings, meetings, activities, events, health and wellbeing services with a particular focus on helping vulnerable people, advice and support for the community, and advice and guidance for businesses. So that is what we're planning to be able to deliver from the renovated space and the new extension next door. So it involves the renovation of a Grade 2 listed house, St Dunstan's House, and extension to that building and the erection of a new glazed atrium in what was the yard area down here. That atrium will join St Dunstan's House here to the town hall and allow us to treat the entire estate as one complex. We will have spaces for groups from 2 to 200 in size. All of the necessary permissions and consents are in place to complete the project. There are a couple of planning conditions that are still being discharged, but the relevant consents are all in place. We've appointed a local main contractor, Mel Hughes and Saunders, to deliver the work. And it's anticipated that the building will be open in summer of 2025. Let's hope it's a bit more bright and warmer than it was this year. West Mendip Primary Care Network is providing human resource to get the building system and buildings systems and clients in place before it opens. That person is actually due to start in that role with the Primary Care Network, working very closely with us this week. So I've been keeping the public and councillors up to date with our progress so far. There's been a number of surprising teething problems that we've had to overcome, but our rainwater attenuation tank, which generated a lot more public interest than I ever expected an underground tank to generate, is in place. They've started the the footings for the extension at the rear of St Dunstan's House that provide a changing places toilet as part of the national scheme, and I believe the block work was actually started today. All of the scaffolding is up, the roof is off, the internal repairs to the roof are being undertaken ahead of the tiles then being put back on the roof where we can reuse them. So our contractors are making good progress and are currently on time. Laptop's just having a thing. I've further been keeping the public up to date with some of our information boards out on the hoarding around the front of St Dunstan's House in our prominent position, which gives an overview of what's being delivered as part of the project. Some pretty pictures. On the wall, just at the bottom of the Town Hall steps, if you turn left, is a timeline all the way back from when the community were asked for their expressions of interest during the beginning of the town deal to summer 2025 when we plan for the facility to open. And we've just given the public an overview of who's delivering it in partnership and what they are going to expect when the project is complete. So we're trying to keep the public as up to date as possible. The project costs and funding. So the total anticipated cost for the project, that's the entire renovation, all of the necessary consultant fees to design the space, discharge planning conditions, etc., and to construct the new atrium is £2.572 million. The total secured funding to date, which is a combination of town deal funding and some grant funding, stands at £1.76 million. So there is currently a shortfall of £811,474. We've unsecured funding applications outstanding, totalling £850,000. So that's made up of a £500,000 application to the Community Ownership Fund. That fund has been paused since the general election. So we were expecting an answer on that application probably within days of the general election sort of happening, but obviously when it was called, it was paused. It hasn't been cut, but it also hasn't yet been resumed. And the MP and myself have both been chasing for an answer, whether it be yes or no, hopefully yes. But the reason we're in this situation is actually the uncertainty from that grant application mostly. We also have £50,000 pledged by a local foundation, but that is conditional on receiving the Community Ownership Fund. So it is secured, but it's also not. And we have a £300,000 application due to go into the National Lottery for their Reaching Communities Fund. So it is anticipated that we can close that shortfall with these grants. Take, for example, if the National Lottery could not afford to spend £300,000 here, there are smaller grant-giving bodies that we could then go to. But the main outstanding funding application, which is on pause, and I don't think it will be decided until the end of October after the next budget or budget announcement, is the £500,000 for the Community Ownership Fund. So I've kind of covered this. So why are we in this situation? So the town deal was always part funding this project and other projects. There was always an expectation that there would be an amount of match funding. However, inflation, general costs have had an effect on the amount of shortfall. So we have had, for instance, in the paperwork, it details that we had our initial grant from the town deal, which has been topped up, I think 3 times, twice from projects that aren't going ahead, and once from the Robert Richards initiative, which is providing £151,000 for the renewable heating that's going into the project. But even though we've had that additional £280,000, the shortfall hasn't decreased because costs have increased. So we've still got that £800,000 shortfall. To meet, I was meant to say I do apologise, I was a bit key happy. To meet the deadline of the town deal funding, we had to start now, and delaying the project would have cost us even more. The town deal funding has made Glastonbury relatively unattractive to other funders because they see the headline of £23.6 million and think, you've had enough, we'll spend our money elsewhere. That's the answer we've kind of been getting, and the National Lottery are a bit on the fence even about our application, even though we are the only town deal project that's been nominated by the town deal board to apply to the National Lottery because they have that concern. The delay in a decision on the Community Ownership Fund application has affected the project's cash flow, has introduced a great deal of uncertainty, and we're currently trying to negotiate the industry standard JCT, that's what it's called, form of contract for the building work next door. And we're not in a position to do that because we can't commit to a point in the project where we have enough money to complete it. So the reason that this consideration has come to full council is because the contractors are on site. We need to negotiate the contract. We're planning to complete in 1 year, but it's still not 100% clear if we're going to get the amount of grant funding that we currently have our sort of proverbial fishing rods out there for. So in terms of a loan, the process, there's two different types of loan. If you were to take out a loan from the Public Works Loan Board. Now the Town Council has two outstanding loans from the Public Works Loan Board. One is for £70,000 and was for Herbie's Field, and one is for £350,000, which was the initial purchase of St Dunstan's House. Now, since they were both taken out, we've been making repayments, and in your papers, it does detail when they are due to be completed. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 2035 and 2038.
It is.
Excellent. So there's two different types of loan you can take out with the Public Works Loan Board if you were going to. So this is one of the decisions. If you make a decision to resolve to borrow, you need to make a decision which type of loan you might want. So you can take out an annuity or an equal instalment on the principal, an EIP. So this was just to demonstrate the type of repayments that you get on each of those. So essentially, on an annuity, you pay a fixed repayment. At the beginning, it's more heavily, well, it's not more heavily weighted toward interest, but you pay off more interest than you pay off at the end. Flat fixed repayment across your repayment term. Equal instalment on the principal, you pay a flat amount off of your principal, and the amount you pay in interest goes down over the length of the loan as you pay the principal amount back. So that does have an impact on your final cost of borrowing. So take, for example, an annuity. So those at the top were just to visually demonstrate what they look like paying them back. Nothing to do with what we're borrowing. An annuity, a quote I got today, over 20 years, which is the length of time that the Town Council's always taken out a loan over before, but you can take it out over more, you can take it out over less. You actually have a very detailed table with all the repayment costs all the way up to probably about 35 years. I neglected to give you the third page because it would have been more printing, and I didn't think you'd want a loan out over 40 years. I can get it up on the screen if you're interested. Your fixed annual repayment would be £66,700 at an interest rate of 5.03%. Now, that's higher than the interest rates that we've previously taken out money on, but in comparison to the business or private loan market, that's still very competitive. I was doing some research today. Your total repayment on I neglected to put that on there, on a loan of £850,000, if you were going to make sure you could secure that full amount, would be £1.367 million. Equal instalment on the principal, you would have an initial annual repayment of £83,114, but that would reduce by £1,000 every year as you pay less and less interest over the term. And your total repayment will be £1.28 million on that £850,000. So in terms of the timeline, so this has been brought to you because, like everything in local government and with councils, it's a bit more complex and a bit more time consuming than if you were just to go out and get a loan yourself. So this has been brought to you today because the project cash flow is at a point that we need to be able to guarantee one way or another we have the money to complete the project. And because you have to make your resolution to borrow, then you have to consult with the public, and then it has to be assessed. There is a bit of a process to go to, so that's why it's come to you at this meeting. So we are currently between stages 1 and 2. I've contacted our county association. I've had a discussion with them. They are fully aware of the project and what we are doing, and I have to say the Chief Executive was very impressed. And the next stage for us will be the consultation with the residents, but there's a few little boxes for us to tick in the meantime. Then after that, it goes back to the county association to check that we've included everything with our application that we need to, because it's not only a resolution of this meeting. I have to provide quite a lot of information that we've already generated as part of the project to prove that we can afford the loan and that it's worth spending money on. It gets assessed by, I asked for the most up-to-date version. They haven't updated the name of their department yet, but it's actually MHCLG now. They've changed the name. So it's actually an MHCLG, Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government assessment. Then they have a meeting to approve it. Then they do their final affordability pack and checks. In my mind, it's interesting they do that after they approve it, but the government like to do everything the wrong way around. And then stage 7 is you can actually draw down the money. So as you can imagine, although they haven't put months toward this, it does depend a bit on the workload of the government department, which at the time is quite high. So we needed to consider this as soon as possible. Now, in terms of our steps, if this evening, based on the information we have and your wish to deliver the entire project, you made a resolution to borrow, we then have to provide a budget for the project and a budget for the Town Council showing the loan repayments. Now, we already have a budget for once St Dunstan's House opens, and you all have a copy of that around the table. And we can show very easily the loan repayments factored into the Town Council's budget. We then do an assessment on the loan's affordability, which links into the budget. We then provide a business case. Now, that has already been completed. We already provided a business case for the 1.3 million, which has turned into 1.6 million from the town deal. And we have a very comprehensive business case for the operation of the building, which has been submitted as part of our Community Ownership Fund application. So I already have that information. Now, steps 5 and 6 are in a different colour because they are optional. You have to determine any precept increase, if applicable, and then you have to do a precept increase consultation, if applicable. You'll see from the budget for St Dunstan's House, I don't think this council needs to put up its precept in order to make those loan repayments. I have jiggled with the figures. I think they are conservative with a small c, and I think the facility can meet its running costs and that loan repayment based on the forecast that we have. So in year 1, I forecast a room occupancy rate of only 50%, but with our primary care network, project manager, operations manager in post, I hope from day 1 it's going to be a lot higher than that. I've also made the room hire costs quite conservative with a small c, and then from years up to years 2 and 3, it's only an annual 5% occupancy rate increase. But you will see, even with the loan repayments factored into the costs of running St Dunstan's House, I anticipate in the first year there will be an impact on our reserves of about £30,000, and then from year 2 it will start making a surplus. So it will soon pay back that £30,000 impact it will have on our reserves. So I do not think that this council will need to directly put up its precept as a result of if it makes a resolution to borrow this money. So rather unhelpfully, I haven't actually typed out my recommendation into this slide.
Oh.
But you have all got it printed in front of you, and if I can find my own printed copy, which is right here, I shall read them out to you. In the days of copy and paste, you're surprised I made a little error like that. So if this council wishes to deliver the entire project, it may very well not actually need a loan at all. It may not need a loan for £850,000. Now, I have checked. You can both repay early. They do there is a document in your online folder, which is a few FAQs about borrowing money, lending to parish councils. This is all quite boring and formulaic. Premature early repayment. So you can make an early repayment. So say, for example, we had the situation where we took out a loan for the full amount, got the £500,000 from Community Ownership Fund, but didn't get anything else. You can use money to make an early repayment. There is a calculation because the terms will never be in favour of the lender, of the lendee, sorry. They're always in favour of the lender. So they may well incur a charge, but there is the option to repay early, and they encourage parish councils to not pay for a longer period than they need to. But also, I have checked that if we ran a public consultation on an amount of, say, £850,000, and got to the point where we're actually submitting the application and only needed, let's say we got the community ownership fund money but nothing else, to apply for a loan of £350,000, they do not mind receiving an application for less than you've resolved to borrow, but obviously it wouldn't work the other way around, because the key bit of evidence is the consultation. So if you made a resolution to borrow £850,000, that doesn't mean until the point at which we put in the application, you are obligated to take out that amount. So I checked that with the chief executive of our local county association, and the worst thing that could possibly happen is we have to have an extraordinary full council meeting to make the resolution again. But hopefully you'll have already had the debate and it wouldn't be too painful. So I have recommended, in order for this town council to be able to demonstrate that it has funds to deliver the entire project, which is what I understand is the vision of the town council, we've done a value engineering exercise. There was never very much fat in that project. And very much the atrium is what logically you might not deliver, but actually that is the cherry on the cake. And very much like with the town hall lettings, the main hall is the room that makes the money. The atrium is going to be the room that makes the money, which makes all the other smaller rooms more affordable for the groups that are going to come in and use them. So I have recommended, because there is a very specific form of wording for a resolution to borrow. So this is your document that I've provided. So I have recommended that at the Glastonbury Town Council meeting of the 10th of September 2024, it was resolved to seek approval of the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government to apply for a public works loan up to £850,000 over the borrowing term of a number of years that this council will need to make a decision for the completion of St Dunstan's House Community Health and Wellbeing Centre. The annual loan repayments will come to around, and that's a figure again to fill in depending on your length of repayment. And then we need to choose from the two statements below. Either it is not intended to increase the council tax precept for the purpose of the loan repayments, or it is also intended to increase the council tax precept for the purpose of the loan repayments by a certain number of percent that I would have to work out, which is equivalent to an additional certain number of pounds per year. This will be subject to a precept increase consultation. What I would also suggest is, so that's the specific form of wording that you have to use that the government would like to see. But also within that, you include a little note that the town council would consult with the public and budget for a figure of a loan of £850,000 to complete the project, but that it delegates to me, the town clerk, any reduction in this figure to suitably address the shortfall in the project. So if we were successful with grant funding, I could, without bringing it back to full council, apply for less, as long as it still met the shortfall. But it would still be over the repayment length that you choose. So I wrote here on my paper, to be repaid over a period of 20 years, because that's what I anticipated you might choose. But it's up to this council to choose, if it wishes to resolve to borrow, what length it wishes to borrow over. So I will gladly take any questions, Your Worship, but hope that the couple of months since we raised this as a potential decision and consideration we have to make, and the information shared about the project, hope most councillors feel up to date on our progress so far, but happy to take any questions.
So, Councillor Don Francesco.
Yeah, it's about the match funding. So with the 50k community ownership money,
500,000, but yes.
500,000. You said that there was possibly a match funder. Would they also match fund if you got the funds from elsewhere? And also, could you, if you did receive any of the fundings, but it did come in late, is that actually allowed to then pay off if we agree for the community fund to go into? Two questions, sorry.
I think I understand what you're saying, Councillor Don Francesco. In the grant conditions of the award from a local foundation for £50,000, it explicitly stated that that was conditional on receiving the money for the Community Ownership Fund. However, that same foundation left the door wide open quite explicitly and said, if you find during this project you need more money, come back and apply again. So what we would have to do is for that £50,000, because we won't meet the grant condition if we don't get the Community Ownership Fund money. I think we have an incredibly strong application. I'm very surprised that they haven't made a decision. But if we are not awarded that money, then we don't meet that grant condition and we won't be able to draw down that grant that they've made. However, as I mentioned, they have said they are happy to receive applications for the project from this council at future meetings of that trust. In terms of your question about are we allowed to receive grant funding to repay a loan, I think the answer is no, but that will depend on funders'
Criteria?
yes, their own criteria. Thank you, Councillor White. But we would look to apply for the loan at the latest possible point. Now, in reading the guidance documents, I actually think the time between a decision and drawing down the money is very swift. It's the time up to a decision that is difficult. And I should imagine that until the loan money is actually in this town council's account, if we received additional grant funding before that point, I'm sure the Debt Management Office would quite happily have a discussion that actually we do not need the full amount and we may only draw down a part of what we've applied for, because they are very keen to see councils not borrow too much money and not over too long a period of time. So we would look to, if I can pick a bad expression, pull the trigger on receiving the loan money as late as possible. Our forecast for the project, if we don't receive an additional penny, shows that we have enough money up until I think spring of next year. So it's not a case that the project is going to come to a grinding halt. And we would look to take out any money at the latest possible stage. But because the process is quite complex and can be quite lengthy, and it will take even longer because of all the workload at the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, because of the new government and their different priorities, I want to make sure we have plenty of time to demonstrate that we have some money, no matter where it comes from, secured to deliver the project so the contractor is happy, and that we can deliver the full project as much as possible. So I hope that kind of has answered your...
Yeah, thank you.
I've got a couple more, Councillor Napper and then Henderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can I ask, have you shared this information with the responsible financial officer? And is that person in agreement?
Yes, I've had lengthy discussions with our responsible finance officer, Jane, and she's in agreement with my forecasts. Jane is rather luckily on holiday at the moment, somewhere warmer and nicer than we are here. But yes, I had long discussions with Jane, and ultimately it is a decision of the council. So depending on how you feel about the information I have presented you, the forecast for the income projected from St Dunstan's House, okay, and the costs that have come in to deliver the project, it's the decision of the council whether it feels like it wants to take out a loan. But yes, responsible finance officer is in agreement and doesn't have any concerns about.
So it's not just yourself?
It's not just myself.
That's Terry.
I would hope all 16 of you are with me, but we'll wait and see when you come to vote.
Councillor Henderson.
Just a couple of things. I noticed with our other two loans, we've taken out the EIP option, which I assume, which I think, you know, maybe the right option to choose on this one. And just a question, it might be completely wrong, but is there any, would we get the money any cheaper if we consolidated all three loans and therefore borrowed a bigger amount?
That's not a question explicitly that I've asked, but I don't believe that the Debt Management Office particularly consolidate loans in that way. You have a loan and they are expecting certain repayments on certain dates against that loan. They don't tend to refinance loans that they already have out. The loans that we already have out are at 2-point-something% interest.
Right.
And actually, I think if you were to do that, you would actually be paying more interest.
So I've got Councillor Smythe and then Cousins.
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank the clerk for an excellent report and summary of this important piece of work. And I fully support his recommendation. And I also note the work of the Mayor Lokabandu and the working group. And I know that they suggest that it's not necessary to raise the precept, and I understand why from the figures. But focusing on the figures, I'd just like a clear understanding, for example, of the atrium, which is anticipated in year one is going to be rented out for £500 per day, and it's a 30% of occupancy rate, which amounts to £45,124. So rough calculation, that's 90 days, anticipated 90 days. I just wondered where the 124 came from, or perhaps that's just a factor factoring in a kind of an equation.
Sorry, can I ask where your 124 came from, Councillor Smythe? That's not a number.
Today, 30% occupancy rate in
Yep.
year one.
Yep.
£45,000, 124.
Yep. Well, that's a very good question. I wonder if it's because taking a 30% occupancy rate, it's done something with that
End number.
that end number, depending on.
Is it 30% of 365 days or 30% of weekdays? Or...
It is 30% of being open 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year. His Worship, the Mayor, might be better able to explain it because it's actually based on his spreadsheet.
300 days, which effectively is 90 days,
Yes.
so it should be 45,000.
Okay, I do apologise for the extra £124, but
Councillor Cousins?
Thank you, Your Worship. I wonder if we decide tonight to resolve either of the options that have been recommended to us, will this have any impact on decision making of the bodies that we're applying to for the same funding?
that's a very good question, Councillor Cousins. Although we've made a resolution to borrow, we won't have drawn down the money. This decision is being taken tonight almost exclusively to make sure that we can negotiate the contract and demonstrate that we have a fallback position that we can pay for the entire project. Now, when we enter into discussions with grant-giving bodies, so far we have raised that ultimately our backup would be a loan, because one of the questions that grant-giving bodies do ask is, are you going to deliver the entire project? Because they don't want to give money and you end up with an empty building that you can't use. So I think that would be a case of when we have individual discussions with other grant-giving bodies, what they think of the fact we've made a resolution to borrow, even if we haven't taken out the money. I know for a fact the Community Ownership Fund doesn't have any conditions on where you've received additional money from, other than the fact that it's legal, it's not been laundered, etc. And none of our other grant-giving bodies, such as the National Lottery, have conditions that state you cannot take out a loan. I don't feel it would make us less attractive as a project. I feel uncertainty of not being able to deliver the entire thing is probably actually the most unattractive thing, other than what we think is a delightful headline of £23.6 million worth of investment. That does seem to put some funders off. But I think the security of being able to deliver the project, even through a loan, will actually demonstrate to these funders that we're committed to delivering the entire thing.
I reply, Your Worship.
Go on.
Well, thank you very much. Was a slight concern of mine. I feel that the fact that we can essentially get £2.5 million worth of funding for the cost of £850,000 worth of funding is the sort of leverage this council is never going to be able to achieve at any other point. And so I think that we should move forward to consider one of your two recommendations as a resolution.
Anyone else wish to speak? So does any other people want to speak? Okay, we'll move to vote. Councillor Rina-Dougal?
Yes, I would like to propose that we accept the town clerk's recommendation and have it as a borrowing term of 20 years at the 42,000 that he's recommended, and that we don't increase the council tax precept, that we cross our fingers that the St Dunstan's House will raise the revenue that is projected to be raised, and that we're going to be okay. And if we're not okay, then we've got our reserves and we'll have to bite into them and increase the precept if it's not producing the sort of money we hope it to produce. But I would like us to go for the recommendation, borrowing term of 20 years, repayments of 42,000, whatever it is, and that we don't increase the precept. That's what I'm proposing.
So we do, Councillor Smythe wants to say something, then we do have a recommendation and a seconder.
I'd just like to verify that figure of the annual payments, because as I understand it, it's £83,114 for the first year, which is 1,014. I totally agree with my colleague.
Is your microphone working, Mike? They won't be able to hear you online.
If I may, Your Worship, so let me just get up this slide, if I may. So I've actually factored in the cost of repaying and the first option, because paying £83,000 for the first year and only reducing by £1,000 each year, that's a big significant, that's another significant impact. You could, if you wanted to take advantage of a slightly lower overall cost of borrowing, you could increase the price of the rooms in St Dunstan's House. You could take that repayment figure and factor it into how much you charge to use the building. For the projections for this evening, I did take the figure of repaying an annuity loan of an annual repayment that is fixed of 66,700, and there is some slight change in pounds and pence. I can actually get it off of this. It would be, no, I can't, because they do it half yearly and I can't do that mental arithmetic. But it's about £66,700, and there's some pounds and pence. I can work it out. If you were to take a loan out, equal instalments of the principal, where the repayments go down because you pay a variable amount of interest, or a variable amount off of your sum of interest, that does have an impact on the budget for St Dunstan's House. So I just wanted to clarify. I believe I've got a proposer in Councillor Ronnie Dougal for the standard form of wording for resolution to borrow, and we don't have to increase precept. I believe Councillor Cook seconded that, but I just wanted to check, because that is based on an annuity loan, not an equal instalment of the principal loan. Just wanted to check members were clear, Your Worship.
I was, because both of our other ones are EIPs, I was assuming we were going for the EIP. I didn't detail that, and it wasn't in what you'd written for the recommendation, but I would like to say I consider that the EIP is actually a better form, and that's what we've done before.
Are you happy to second that, Councillor Cook?
Yeah, absolutely. Point of order. We've said that we don't want to increase the precept, but we've seen that the amount of repayments for at least the first 6 years are going to be much higher than the other versions. So will that place us into any difficulty around our pledge not to increase the precept?
It will have an additional impact on reserves. And my judgment would be yes, it probably would impact the commitment not to directly put up an increase on the precept, because that would be an additional £17,000 well for the first year that you have to find. And you'll see St Dunstan's House is forecast to make a loss of £37,000 in the first year, then make a surplus of £16,000 in the second year. So you would basically wipe out, you would increase your burden of the first year, you'd wipe out your surplus in the second year, and you would only start making a surplus on your costs in year 3 or 4, and that's an additional £20,000, £17,000 each year that you will have to generate from St Dunstan's House, which will make the task of making it pay for itself that little bit more difficult. So I fully see the benefits of an overall lower cost of borrowing, but that lower cost of borrowing is realised over a period of 20 years. And if you did the comparison of, so it's about £80,000 difference I make there over 20 years.
Councillor Smythe?
It's like £4,000
Thank you.
a year more.
I think everybody in the room was unaware that your recommendation was based on that annuity calculation, and therefore I withdraw my concern about the EIP rate and would fully support your recommendation based on the annuity 20 years and the annual repayments fixed at 6,700, and therefore not affecting the precept, or therefore we don't have to increase the precept. And I think that would be accepted by both the proposer and the seconder to this motion. It's just that the room wasn't aware that that's how you based your recommendation.
Councillor Cottle?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm listening to it all quite intensely, actually, because you mentioned the thing about not increasing the precept. I find that a difficult thing to sign up to, because I think with inflation, with everything else going on, and with other commitments that we may have as a town council.
Interject here. I didn't mean not increasing the precept.
At all.
You meant just for this loan?
It's in the recommendation.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
For the purpose
I'm just double checking because
No, it's in the recommendation.
that's okay.
So are we happy to revise your proposal, Councillor?
There was nothing about annuity or EIP
Okay.
in my proposal. I took the wording of the recommendation that's up on there.
Okay,
I merely put in the number of years
yep.
and the price of the repayments, those were XX.
So are we happy?
And it doesn't actually say EIP or
No, it doesn't.
annuity. And I had just assumed it was EIP, but as it was
Okay.
pointed out, it was based on annuity. And I'm easy each way, but I would like to propose that we accept the town clerk's recommendation. That's what I'm proposing.
Are we happy to move to vote on that?
To second it.
I think Councillor
Rick's
Cook's.
already done that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
asking.
all those in favour of the motion? That is unanimous, I believe. All those against? All those abstaining? Okay, thank you.
Well done, Connor.
That's unanimous.
Connor.
Thank you very much, Connor, for the
I'll keep you all up to
presentation.
date in my chase for grant funding.
And hopefully it won't be necessary at all, as Connor has told us.
Yes.
Okay,
Please do feel free to, through our new MP, Sarah Dyke,
yes.
lobby for a quick decision on the community ownership fund, which is just sat in limbo at the moment, which is having an impact on projects all over the country.
So moving on to item 9, an update regarding asset and service devolution from Somerset.
Thank you, Worship. This should be quite quick. The Asset and Service Devolution Subcommittee met and considered an initial piece of communication from Somerset Council. I'm pleased to say that the Asset Management Group at Somerset Council has agreed in principle to the freehold transfer of St Dunstan's car park. And to the freehold transfer of St Edmund's Community Hall, and although it wasn't included in the email, I am going to check that they also mean the land, i.e. car park, that surrounds it.
Yes.
I did ask the question, how in principle is in principle, and I was basically told by the head of service that's pretty much a done deal, subject to perhaps, I think, for instance, on the car park, they're happy to consider the freehold transfer with a covenant. I believe the covenant will essentially be that the land needs to be retained as a public car park. That's exactly what we want to do, so I can't imagine that being an issue. The subcommittee also met and considered the very exciting subject of bins. I'm pleased to say that none of the 99 bins that Somerset Council tried to send me on a wild goose chase to find and tried to charge us £8 per bin per empty actually sit on our land, so that won't be a cost to this town council. We also considered closed circuit television, CCTV, which we have committed to support as a service. There are a couple of outstanding queries. I've not signed the service level agreement because I do not consider it yet satisfactory, and we've not paid the invoice that was marked for immediate payment. Somerset Council have been advised of this and our reasons, and they were okay with that, but we've, subject to a couple of queries, committed to support that. That position has not changed, and the subcommittee considered the reasons for delaying that and agreed to the reasons for delaying that. We are having a detailed session on land on Thursday.
Yeah.
That is to consider the pieces of land owned by Somerset Council and which pieces of land we wish to take on as freehold transfers and to manage ourselves. And that includes making consideration over the play parks that are in Glastonbury. So the subcommittee are having a meeting on Thursday to have a detailed session on that, to go back to Somerset Council before we head into further negotiations on specific pieces of land. I've also raised a query over the depot in Glastonbury on Wells Road. Now it's being retained as a depot, but there's more space than Somerset Council needs. So I've asked the question because we are very short on space for equipment, etc., and we are going to have more of it and more staff, whether as part of our deal space at the depot could be considered part of it and what terms that might be on. So that's a query that's sort of open-ended. And I think, Your Worship, unless there are any other updates from members who were present at that meeting, I think that is the substantive update. We are looking into legal support, but that hasn't moved yet because we're not at a stage where we need it. But that's been delegated to me to look into and to bring options back to the subcommittee at the right time. So happy to take any questions, Your Worship, or there may be members around the table who were present who wish to give a further update or any comment.
There was the equally fascinating topic of toilets.
Oh, yes. Oh, right. Sorry. In my head, I knew there was something I was forgetting. How could I forget the toilets?
You're flushed with success.
So actually, the main reason for withholding payment for the CCTV service is to ensure that the set of toilets at St John's is in a state that we can actually use it. Now, we had been paying a contractor for a period of 3 months to open them, clean them and close them, and they hadn't registered any problems with the toilets whatsoever. However, when we started with a new contractor, they were very diligent and told us everything that was wrong, and it makes me wonder what that first contractor was doing for 3 months. Now, because we have not signed a lease, it is not our building, it's the responsibility of Somerset Council to make sure that they're in a fit state before they are handed over to us on unfortunately, a period of a lease. Because the title for the toilets in the car park is within the title for the entire car park, and they don't want to create a load of work by splitting titles. So unfortunately, one of Somerset's red lines is if it's a lease, it's 25 years. I did try and push back on that. But it is my feeling that it's the responsibility of Somerset Council to ensure that before a town or a parish has the responsibility of taking something on, it's in a fit state. So we're not paying for CCTV until the toilets are fixed. I'm pleased to say that our assistant town clerk, who was hoping all evening I would not put her on the spot, has been working very diligently with Somerset Council, chasing them weekly, if not daily, to complete the repairs, and was actually having a very lively discussion with Les just before you all arrived about what work had and had not been completed. But we continue to stay on top of that, and we continue to keep the bits of St John's toilets open that we can, that are working, and we hope that the full set of toilets, well, they will be working before we sign a lease, but hopefully they will be working and fixed as soon as possible.
So, any questions, Councillor Cottle?
Yeah, just the one, Your Worship, now I thought was is worthwhile bringing up, which I brought up at the meeting, is the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance. Obviously, we as a town council will be responsible for that, and the renewal of the equipment within. We will be responsible for that because the full repairing lease, I believe.
It will be, Councillor Cottle, yes.
So I think everybody should be quite aware of that it will be our responsibility to keep it up together. Okay, so don't forget that one. And that includes changing places as well, I presume.
It will do, Councillor Cottle. The reason that one's not open, I believe the lock was broken and we were awaiting a new key for it.
Okay, that was good.
That's another thing Katie is chasing to get that one back open, and that's part of our agreement with Dina's that will be part of their round as well when we can get it open.
Councillor Henderson.
Just to say that the piece of land on Parlour's Bridge was always sort of lumped in with the St Dunstan's car park negotiations. Is that still part of the deal, and is it something we would like, or is it something we're not that bothered with? And where are we on that?
So where we are with that one, the expression of interest that went into Somerset Council at the end of last year was basically, as long as it had something green on it and it wasn't patio slabs, tarmac or concrete, we were interested. Somerset Council haven't said, if you take this, you must take that. That is not the strategy that they are going forward with. Because actually in these negotiations, it's the towns and parishes that basically hold the power, because Somerset Council need to get rid of as much as possible. It's completely up to this council whether it wants that piece of land. As I say, the subcommittee are having that meeting on Thursday where it's making considerations over land and play areas. And I think, to be honest, any piece of land that Somerset Council do not consider a strategic asset that they can devolve the costs of, they will. So just to mention, in terms of governance here, us as a town council, the subcommittee are doing the work and can spend some money, say on legal fees, surveys, etc., etc. But it cannot make the decision of what the town council does and doesn't take on. That will be brought back as a package to this full town council for every single member to have their say on. And that will come back here before it then goes to Somerset Council for them to give their rubber stamp, because we don't want to be playing tennis of making resolutions and saying, we want this, no you can't, and we have this. So it will come back to this full council at some point for those members who are not on the subcommittee, but the subcommittee is diligently trying to do the work as quickly as possible, as fast as Somerset Council can move, which to date hasn't been very quick.
So there's no decisions to take tonight, I don't think. Any further questions, Councillor Smythe?
I'd like to say that the subcommittee would welcome any new members, including Councillor Henderson, on Thursday, 6 o'clock, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Any other councillors?
If I can, I will.
So I'd like to thank the staff, Conor and Katie especially, for their work and just celebrate us hopefully securing the car park in St Edmunds Hall for the town council.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and Hayley as well.
And Hayley, yes. Happy to move on? Okay. Let us consider joining the Brew Catchment Consortium. You going to speak to that?
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Some of you will have remembered a gentleman called Bill Smart from Wedmore Parish Council who came and talked to us, and it was about Dredge the Brew. So that was the original thing. On 15th of August, myself, Councillor Cousins, Councillor Don Francesco went to Wedmore Parish Council and had a very interesting discussion about a whole load of things. And during that, there were representatives from Wedmore, Wookey Mere, St Cuthbert's Out Street, Glastonbury, Godney. And the idea was, okay, what can we do about sort of flooding, flood risk, all the rest of it? As that discussion unfolded, we realised that the Environment Agency is a statutory body, so they're responsible for water. They've got no money, and they've just been chopped another 40%. Thank you. The Somerset Rivers Authority apparently was established after the 2013-14 floods. They have the money. The internal drainage boards have the equipment, the expertise, the people, have done hydrological mapping, all of this sort of stuff. So this this group that came together, we then sort of changed the name from sort of comments that had come to be the Brew Catchment Consortium. So a collection of different parishes, others can join. And the idea was to lobby or put pressure on certain directions at certain times. So during that meeting, we roughed out an idea of a letter that would go to the Rivers Authority to release money to the Internal Drainage Board and the Environment Agency to give whatever permissions or licenses would be there. So this was just like, put some money to the people who can do the work and not, because the others won't do the work or they can't do the work.
I'll answer a question.
So what are you asking for us tonight?
So Wedmore will lead on it initially, their chair, Jackie Farley, and that Glastonbury would join that Brew Catchment Consortium. And so there's a meeting on the 20th of the Rivers Authority, 20th September. And so if we agree tonight to join, I would then just email Jackie and say, yeah, please add Glastonbury to the the signatory for whatever that letter is. So that's the most important thing. So if we agree to that, then that we would agree representatives to that consortium. It won't meet regularly, but it will meet as and when. And Councillor Don Francesco and myself would like to be the representatives, if that suits people. So, yeah, it is interesting. They've also looked at things like where does the silt come from? Is the dredging the right thing? Land use practices. So it's much more complicated, but the feeling was that having a consortium of sort of parishes, others can join, you know, that would sort of be better than just saying, oh, the Environment Agency is responsible, it hasn't got any money. You know, so how can that sort of lobbying effect?
I've got a question from Councillor Cottle.
Yeah, I do have a question, and I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think you need to be careful what you're talking about with money and giving to the drainage board. I have my own reasons for that. John might understand my scepticism, because the EA are already asking for a rather large loan from the drainage boards, or they didn't ask, I believe it was actually volunteered, wasn't it, by a member, and they don't expect to see it returned, which I find quite worrying, to be quite truthful with you. And so I would be a little bit cautious about what you suggest and what you asked for concerning money.
So one,
they're wealthy.
Yeah,
they've got plenty of reserves.
Yeah. So one option would be that there would be specific projects put together for particular areas, and those are the things that would get the funding, with whatever the necessary permits or licenses were from the EA. Because essentially the EA said we can't or we won't, or yeah.
So I'm not hearing any request for money tonight.
No. It's not about money. It's just, do we want to join and put our name on the...
Careful with
Councillor Napper, and then move to vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. As I recall, the funding comes from the Somerset Precept. The precept was put up a percentage.
Correct, for the Rivers Authority, yeah.
For that purpose.
Yeah.
Everybody will be paying, presumably.
Yeah.
Councillor Smythe.
I'd like to propose that we join the Brew Catchment Consortium and thank Michael and Indra for doing the initial work, and therefore I propose that they carry on to represent Glastonbury on this consortium. That's my proposal.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Are we happy to move to vote?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Anderson. All those in favour?
Yeah.
All those against? All those abstaining? 3 abstentions. So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Okay. Item 11, to consider highway works to request Somerset Council to complete. Do you want us to talk about it now, or let us know individually?
No, so I'll just mention, Your Worship. So I've been contacted by the Highways Department at Somerset Council, and every year, I always ask the question. I've asked it numerous times since I've been in this job. When is the deadline that we have to give you the works that we would like you to consider completing, so that you can put it in your annual work order? I never ever get an answer. However, there was a call out made by our local traffic engineer that the work order is already overdue, but Somerset Council are waiting for other areas to complete their sort of wish lists of things to do. So the opportunity is still open to add highway works to the list. Now, because I'd asked the question, when is your deadline? This came as a bit of a surprise to me, but I thought I'm going to take the opportunity and ask you all if you've been contacted by any members of the public or have concerns about works on the highway that as a full council you would like to endorse Somerset Council considering adding to their work schedule for this coming year. So I've got an email from one resident that's been sent to me via the Highways Department, but I'll let members speak first before I read this one out. You can consider whether you want to endorse this one as well.
Councillor Osborne?
Yeah, I've got a number of things. One of them, I think it might be the email you're talking about, Connor, is the one about about Merrick Road.
I've got another one, but yes, that's one of them.
Merrick, the lines and stuff in Merrick Road. The other one I've been contacted about by constituents is the junction at where I think it's Archer Way crosses St Edmund Road. There should be more yellow lines on the corners because people are parking right up to the corners. And then the high spot of my life, St John's car park. It needs, let me go through it again. It needs a sign saying which way to go when you go in, and all the little arrows that you should be following needs to be repainted because people all go the wrong way round, except the ones who are diligently following the little lines, and they're all going to have, there's going to be a head-on collision. And also, it's not quite, I don't know whether it's highways, but that old railway thingy-bob, bits keep falling off.
Oh, the canopy.
I think that's all I've got.
I had Councillor Napper.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, could you ask Somerset Highways if they could take the traffic lights down as soon as they finish the job? Only very often you find that the traffic lights are still there a day after the job has been finished. Completed. That's the word. Okay. And that's so darn frustrating. Not only that, at the bottom of Legomutton Road, I think they had traffic lights when they dug up the pathway. I know that was probably dangerous for people going out into the road, but it just didn't seem to make too many sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you, Terry, actually. Yeah, while we're at it, I'm amazed because I can never get a straight answer out of them either. So that's good. So the one thing I would like to put on there, definitely, is Thurston Road. Okay? Yeah, well, Reg isn't here tonight, is he? No. It's a shame. I definitely want that because I've ranted on about that forever to them. And I think they should be looking at doing something in Thurston Road.
What specifically in Thurston Road? Please do enlighten me.
Well, if they can't put a double yellow line, it's down in the turning at the bottom. Anybody who knows it, you'll know where I am. There's a habit that some rather large vehicles tend to park down there and make it impossible for residents to get out of their properties or to turn, in fact. And it's really difficult for the fire appliances, and et cetera, to get in there. It's quite a narrow road anyway.
So I'm wondering, would it work for us all to email Connor in the next 24 hours if we have further suggestions?
Yeah.
Would that work for you? Rather than do it tonight?
Yes. The only reason, Your Worship, I brought it to this meeting rather than just doing it by email is because if the town council as a body is going to support it, really you should, at a meeting of this body, decide that you do support it. So let's just take the example.
Fair enough.
If
that's fine. I get that.
That's fine.
So I've got Don Francesco and then Smythe and then Wendy Dougal and then Zoe.
Thank you, Worship. Yes,
okay, so let's be quick.
I've had a couple about Magdalen Street.
Magdalen Street.
Oh, yes.
That's been done.
Has it been done?
Okay. So say what you want.
Okay, great. And the other one is red lines, yellow lines on, I think it's Beckery Old Road, going round to where it goes into the red brick building. Because things always park there and it's dangerous.
By the car park.
By the car park.
Okay. Councillor Smythe.
Quickly, the old Chestnut Manor House Road and Old Wells Road. It's dangerous turning right.
Wells Road?
Not Old Wells Road.
Wells Road.
Yeah. Just turning right. It's the yellow lines.
Yeah. Worth putting in.
Also, Torview Avenue and Hill Head by the telephone box. There's always 2 or 3 caravans there. There should be a yellow lines there at least. So, and also, anybody wanting to purchase anything from Glastonbury in the car park can't park there anymore because there's two great big potholes.
Councillor Price?
I was going to talk about Magdalen Street, specifically outside the temporary Abbey entrance opposite the church. There's a big dip there and passers-by get sprayed with rainwater.
Yes.
And there's a lot of areas where it's very uneven and damaging for vehicles' tyres.
Sorry, Zoe, I think that's on the list to be done anyway. This
The rumble strips.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Councillor White?
The street road pedestrian crossing, it needs some bright Felicia lights, please. It's almost invisible. So this sort of light that's down here by the toilets with the LEDs, much better, but you can hardly see that street road one.
Councillor Cousins and Councillor Cook?
There was an accident on the A361 on Chilkwell Street on Monday night. Considerable issues were there, including a large lorry that decided it would try to come an alternative route via Cinnamon Lane and then got really stuck trying to get out of Cinnamon Lane up by the well there. This is absolutely outrageous. Could we have a TRO to remove the county freight route and designation from the A361, but 7.5 weight limit in, please?
Yeah.
Councillor Cook?
Yeah. Nick, yes, specifically for yourself, sir. I think it was just over a week ago that I posted a photograph I took with my phone of the derelict caravan, which was dumped on the side of the road at the back of the hotel, Premier Inn. And it'd been there. I didn't notice it at first. It had a number plate, but then I saw the number plate, and it's been there since 1992. Well, not necessarily there, but it hasn't paid tax since then. Unbelievable. 1992, yeah. I've got a picture of it here somewhere. And I know, it's extraordinary.
It's not around.
Not been around here.
Okay, so we'll...
So the thing is,
okay.
today I saw it had been moved, and it's a little bit further up the road from Premier Inn. But there's a lovely note on it from Somerset County Council saying it's going to be removed and destroyed tomorrow.
Great. Any other? Sorry, Serena.
Well, everybody's been talking about very little things, but I know that one of the things we really need is a pedestrian crossing as you go over towards B&Q across the bypass. It's desperately needed there. There's so many people who are trying to get across to B&Q, to Tesco's and so on, who are not in cars, or on bicycles or on walking. Is this the sort of thing that could go into this, or it can?
Yeah, because it's been there.
Yes, pedestrian crossings to go across towards B&Q and Tesco's from the housing estate. Yeah, and that's one. And the other one is a pedestrian crossing across the Wells Road from the bottom of the footpath that comes down from Windmill Hill Estate by the Wagon and Horses, because there's a bus stop there. And if you want to come down that footpath and get across the road to the bus stop, you need a good safe crossing. So pedestrian crossing there as well, please.
Any others?
Noted those.
Any others?
Oh, well, while I'm about it, I really want us to go for cycle lanes. The one that I would like most is a cycle lane along the Wells Road. We've now got the restricted parking, which means that actually the Wells Road is much more empty during the day because people park there of an evening. So it's quite feasible on the other side from the restricted parking for that to be a cycle lane. And that would make life so much easier for cyclists.
Okay. So if I'm right, what Connor's asking us is that we kind of collectively endorse the list. We've compiled a list, and are we happy to endorse the list as a council?
Well, yeah.
Yep.
I don't think some of them are going to get very far, but it's worth.
It's our wish list.
I'm happy to propose that we endorse the list.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to second it?
It's got an addition.
Oh, Councillor McDougall?
I just wanted to say that I am in dialogue with Aileen Fletcher about the Millstream thing. I'm trying to find the email now, but
About speed limits.
about speed limits and about crossing.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
As in about the speed limit. Was it seeking to reduce it to 30 or 20? I can't remember.
well, either, but she's given me a fairly firm response, but that neither are possible.
Right. Okay. Do you want it included on this list as endorsed by the town council, so that it's not just coming from one person or another? I mean, you may very well, very likely, unfortunately, get the same response, but there's no harm it going on this town council endorsed list, and it's coming from the town council and not just either the public or individual councillors.
Okay.
So she said that the traffic is actually going under 30 miles an hour or thereabouts anyway, as I remember from the email she said. So there would be no point in putting in the speed limit. But I think if you don't bear in mind what she said to me, then it looks like we're not all talking to each other. No, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave it off the list then.
Councillor Cuttle.
Yeah, okay, if we're going to talk about speed limits, I definitely get a lot of complaints about speed in Old Wells Road, down by the hospital, up by Watts Corner and all that, and they would like that reduced to 20 miles an hour. Okay, so that might as well go there as well.
So,
one very big. I noticed as I'm walking, quite a few of the 20-mile-an-hour bits painted on the roads have almost disappeared. So those need redoing.
Last contribution, Councillor Manning.
I don't know if this is highways, but with regard to 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, it'd be really great to have some enforcement.
So,
Worship, I'm happy to include those late arrivals within my proposal.
thank you. Do we have a... Oh.
Just a quick one. I was pestered by Councillor Cottle when I was county councillor about a sign on the Rain Out Park Lake. I noticed that that's still not put up after 2 years.
It's not Glastonbury. Park Lake Bridge belongs to...
Well, why did you give me grief?
Well, I felt like it.
No. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Cousins' motion?
I can only...
I'm a seconder.
Seconded by Councillor
only say you
Rosenbugle.
stir things up.
Are we happy? All those in favour?
Yeah.
All those in favour
Thank you.
of the package of requests?
Oh, is that unanimous? Oh, yeah.
That is, I believe, unanimous. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. So moving on rapidly.
Can I just say something more? Because I found the email now, and she's saying that if Glastonbury Town Council want to do this speed limit reduction, the cost would be £6,000 to £10,000, and we could do it ourselves.
Could that maybe come back to us for consideration? Yeah. Okay. So let's note the resolutions of our delegated committees, which I don't think was in our folder, as far as I remember.
It is in your online folder now, Your Worship. These resolutions are all for noting anyway. They are decisions of other committees. I do apologise, Councillor Smythe, that there is an erroneous E on the end of your name. I'm sure we will... and there's a missing apostrophe on town clerks as well, but we'll get there. August has been a mercifully quiet month, Your Worship, so that is your resolutions of delegated committees.
I'm sure it'll change. So any questions or comments on that?
Noted, Your Worship.
Noted, thank you. So our advisory committees is another thing, and recommendations for decisions.
So, Your Worship, there weren't any explicit recommendations from the Town Centre Crime Reduction Advisory Committee, but I don't know if there are any members present who wish to give an update on any of its activities.
Councillor Don Francesco?
Just to note that we are losing PCSOs, and they won't be re-recruited.
How many we're losing? Really? Oh my God.
There'll be an email, well, there's an email, but there may be more of an email going round. Yeah.
Okay, the ACE meeting.
So, Your Worship, if we could have a proposer and a seconder for each of these recommendations to either be agreed or refused in order, I would be very appreciative.
So I'm happy to propose the first one, to add a Michaelmas gathering to our council calendar. Councillor Smythe?
Whatever you want me to do, I'll do.
You happy to second
I'm
it?
happy to, I'm happy to second that, but
Okay.
I'm biased.
Are we happy to move straight to vote on that? All those in favour of adding the Michaelmas gathering? All those against? All those abstaining? So 2 abstentions and 1 against.
Thank you, Your Worship. Passed by majority.
Second one, an alternative route for the 3 trees blessing. Do you want to say a word about this?
Yes, so the reason for that was because what we've been doing on Michaelmas for the last couple of years, it started at the Platinum Jubilee, Her Majesty the Queen. We marked the occasion by having a gathering at the Holy Thorn tree that was newly planted in St Dunstan's garden. Obviously, we can't do that at the moment because the garden's closed. So the proposal was to either ask the church if we could use that space for that thorn tree, or perhaps maybe go up to Rural Hill and use the new thorn tree there. So that's what that was to do.
You happy to propose it here and now?
Yes, yep.
Happy to second that.
Moving to vote on that? Modified vote because of St Dunstan's being out of bounds. All those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? I think that's 2 against and 1 abstaining.
Majority. Thank you, Your Worship.
Majority. And then the third one was a request to make a payment of £50 to Gabriel Avalon for doing a full video of the D-Day celebrations, which is on YouTube, where he does have quite an audience actually for Glastonbury stuff. I'm happy to propose it.
That was also, Your Worship, just to note that actually he provided a number of stills to the Town Council as well that we didn't otherwise have. So it's not just for the video that was already produced. It's mainly actually for the additional stills and additional work he did for us as a Town Council to provide us content that we didn't have.
So seconded by Councillor Overton.
Who proposed it? Sorry, Your Worship, was that yourself? Thank you.
Moving to vote. All those in favour? I think that's unanimous actually. That's unanimous. Great.
Thank you, Your Worship.
And I think that's the end of the advisory committees.
Yeah, quick question. With the news that we're losing all our PCSOs, that needs to be, the police need to be asked, why is that, and what are they going to do to sort of fill that gap?
Because
it's quite a,
It's a council thing.
the PCSOs in this town are very important. They're a good link between the townsfolk and the police, and I think that's quite shocking news, really.
Can I just say, Your Worship, we're not losing all of our PCSOs. It's an Avon and Somerset-wide policy that when a PCSO resigns or moves, they're not replaced. So it's more that actually, as there are changes in personnel, the numbers of PCSOs are reducing. It's not a policy that they are being made redundant or gotten rid of. It's that vacancies aren't being advertised or filled when people leave or move. But I know that the Town Centre Crime Reduction Advisory Committee is asking that question, and actually it is of concern even to our local team. I do have quite regular discussions with the sergeant, the PCs, and some of the PCSOs.
Okay.
That concern has been passed upward.
Thank you.
So, about their use or lack thereof of the content from the CCTV cameras in aiding prosecutions, but they are open discussions we're already having.
Thank you.
Can we move on to unitary councillor reports? Councillor Cottle.
Certainly can. Okay. This month has been particularly quiet, I think, really. Well, except for my planning, which is obviously busy, constantly. We've done the drain. I've been to the drainage board as well with John. That's always exciting, and I was taken aback by the idea of this loan. I've got to be honest. Come gift, I think. Once I went away and thought about it, it's a bit of thing. But no, I've had to continue as we do amount of. Without giving away any secrets, with a considerable amount of work for the local people of Glastonbury in different issues, different problems, shall we say. And I'm happy to say that 9 times out of 10, I can achieve something for them, particularly with their council tax, which has been a really severe problem for a few people. And very complex as well, I've got to be honest. I was told I have the most complex cases in Somerset. So that's something to be, I think, a bit concerned about, really. So yeah, we've had that. I've had quite a lot of other stuff. Planning, obviously, very busy. And one thing that will be happening, you will be getting a report from me, sorry, Mike, about what's going on in Somerset. Because one of our group has volunteered to take over the role of coordinating all of our input. And I know last week you said, or last month you said you were only interested in stuff related back to Glastonbury. Well, there probably will be other stuff involved as well. And Adam's intending to take up next month doing the job. So hopefully there'll be a nice full report for you all then. But apart from that, yeah, there's been another sort of complaint that is worth mentioning, which I'm surprised that none of you have been on my case about, is that there was a, God, what's the name of the place? Opposite Carmel Close, the other road up there. There's a play park in there, and apparently it's like a haymaking field, hasn't been cut for a very, very long time. My friend was walking her dog there, and she came back and she took the pictures and she said, Nick, you need to go and sort this out. So I'm going to go and have a go about that tomorrow, I should imagine. So yeah, so generally fairly quiet month in comparison, but still good 30 hours a week. So yeah, question, Steve, I think you've got one.
And is that Bellevue Gardens?
That's the one. That's
yeah, well, that somebody approached me about that about 3 years ago, I think. And transpires, as usually happens, the developer was meant to maintain that, and after about a year, didn't bother anymore. I think our town council picked up the slack for a little while as a gesture of goodwill, and then I think that was back in the day when I can't remember the name of the guy, but.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. And he was doing extra work.
Yeah. And then I actually did it myself once, and I did encourage the neighbours that, you know, it was their piece of land, they should get their act together and between them sort it out. But it's not Somerset or Glastonbury's responsibility. You know, those residents down there need to.
Okay, I'll go back and tell. It was Lucy who told me. You know Lucy.
But yeah, I mean that has been an ongoing for a long, long time. But
okay, so that probably is a developer then.
Definitely.
Right. Thank you for that information. That's somebody else I can try and work out who it is. Then gone bankrupt and chase them.
Councillor Manning.
Paul.
Yeah, about 6 weeks ago, the town clerk wrote to Somerset Council about the situation regarding the 3 PSPOs that had come to an end.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you'd heard anything.
No.
We still haven't got any PSPOs in town.
No, haven't heard a thing.
So you're going to do anything about it?
So maybe email me later and I'll push it, or send me a message and I'll get on with it.
We've got Councillor Price and then Osborne.
I was just wondering whether that piece of land might be turned into a community garden for the use of the residents down there. I don't know.
A community garden. Well, that would be the thing. Let me go and investigate, because if Connor obviously doesn't know much about it either, Steve seems to be the person who has dealt with it before. So I'll go and investigate and see what I can find out and see who it actually does belong to, which we think is the developer, and then see what we can do. But that's a good idea. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a good idea, but I'd just like to say, if they can't be bothered to mow a bit of grass, they're not going to be bothered to grow any, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there might be a point there.
Maybe.
Something could, yeah, we need to tidy it up anyway. The picture that Lucy sent me just showed me loads of grass. It was pretty awful, really. So yeah, so that's not good. Okay, Lily, is it next?
Yeah, I've been having some rather difficult phone calls from a firm of scaffolders who have their scaffolding up on the Life Factory building. Now, I understand the reason they're not being paid may be because there's a Section 151 investigation. I don't know, but they are telling me that they are not being paid. And they are, I mean, I don't know, you know, I only know what I've been told, but they have told me that they are very concerned and that they're taking away bits of their kit.
Where's that to? Oh, the red brick building. Oh, yeah, I think there might be some
funding.
Yeah.
So
We have a 151 officer.
Yeah, well, I understand he's left, but the point is these guys are not being paid. They're small businesses and they are really, really worried they are going to go to the wall.
Well, one left, but we've got an interim one at the moment. I'll chase that for you if you like and try and find out what's going on.
They're telling me that they're not the only company that hasn't been paid. And I imagine it is because these things have all been frozen. But for these very small companies, they're local guys, and they're trying to pay their staff. And what they're worried about is that they may have to take the scaffolding down.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when I go home this evening, I'll write an email to the right person to try and sort that out. But I think I know what that's all about. But it will be confidential. But we'll see. Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuttle. So next up actually is updates from any representatives of outside bodies, which might include the town deal and any projects there. But Councillor Cousins?
Your Worship, do we not have a written report from the councillor who's not here?
I don't think we do.
I didn't receive anything from Councillor Hart other than an apology, Councillor Cousins. If I do receive anything, I will forward it on, but I haven't had a written report.
Your Worship, would it be just courteous if we request, if a county councillor isn't here in person, that they submit a written report of what they've been doing over the last month?
I would be happy for us to do that.
Thank you.
We've got to abstain on that one.
Does that need to be a vote or simply recorded as a request?
I mean, can I just ask? I mean, like when Nick gives them in, he just gives in the Lib Dem one that they do for everybody. I mean, it's easy enough to get the Blue Group one as well. You can have that anytime you want it.
I think we'd be interested, yeah. I didn't even know it existed. So if it does exist, let's have it, yeah. Okay, so how about updates from representatives to outside bodies? Oh, sorry. Okay. Want to say something?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So we've got Fair Trade Fortnight.
Yes, very good.
this and next week. And we've got an event on Sunday, the 15th of September, in the United Reformed Church, 10:30 till 11:30. We've got the chair of Bristol Fair Trade Network, Elaine Ashley, coming to speak. I'll be explaining a little bit about our fair trade status as well. Yeah, to keep our fair trade status. Oh, and I've renewed the fair trade status for the next 3 years.
Well done, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you. Other updates from outside bodies?
There's nothing substantial from Town Deal, so August was fairly quiet. Dunstan House is sort of in its 7th week, I think, and that's going pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah. Abbey, they're digging another big hole just sort of down the back here, and I think that's sort of going. Bailey's building is happening. Tor Leisure, very busy, all down there inside doing whatever fitting out they're doing. So hopefully we'll have more information at the October meeting.
I believe Bridie's Farm have an open day on the 22nd
September.
Yeah.
All day.
Equinox.
Yeah.
And did the Bailey's building, did they have a successful day with their open day to attract people to come and do the work?
Thank you for asking that. Yes, it was a very successful day. We had about 20 people turning up.
Very good. Yeah.
But it wasn't just the numbers, it was actually the quality of the people. These were people who had local businesses in Glastonbury, so they were there on behalf of their firms to actually sort of see about how they could get involved. So yes, it was a very successful day, and obviously the Bailey's building work is now started. The scaffolding has gone up, and the site has been cleared.
Another one here. Wells Environment Network have an Eco Week from the 11th to the 20th, and I've been asked to particularly highlight Friday the 11th at Cedars Hall which is in the Cathedral School. It's a talk on floods, food and farming, and it's organised by Stuart Crocker, that's his name, at 7 o'clock. A variety of speakers.
October.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, October.
I was going, Friday the 13th. Yeah. Yeah. No, but yeah.
I could give to Councillor Napper.
Thank you, Your Worship. This does concern Glastonbury because of the visual aspect of it, and it's about the people out on the market square. I wanted to raise a motion on the Gaza and Palestine genocide situation, but to raise a motion it has to be tabled a week beforehand, and I was a day short, I'm afraid. So the next best opportunity is to bring it to attention in communication. I wanted to bring attention to the group of Palestinian supporters that stand with the flags in our market cross most days. We sent a letter to the Israeli and Palestinian embassies a few months ago, but the killing and human suffering continues. That is sickening to most people. Over 41,000 Palestinians killed, of that 70% women and children. Nearly 100,000 Palestinians have been injured in indiscriminate bombing of their homeland. I'm not sure what we can do to support them, but I wanted to draw attention to this demonstration and I am happy, as with most of Glastonbury Town Council, to draw attention to this plight. It does grieve me so much to see these problems on the news and to see these guys most days out waving the flags for humanity. I think is exceptional, and I just want to. I don't know what we can do. I guess the letter that we sent to the embassies got chucked in the bin. But like I say, it is so visual out there, and it does concern Glastonbury to that extent. Like I said, I don't know what we can do. but it is very inhumane what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said, Terry.
Thank you. Councillor Manning.
Couple of things about Chamber. We've got the meeting with the MP at the tribunal on the 19th of September. If anybody wants to come along, you need to book in. So just contact the Chamber if you want to come along, but you would be very welcome. The jobs fair is on the 3rd of October in the town hall. And our next networking event is on the 22nd of October, but that's in street. That one is at Peggy's Diner. I believe it's 6 o'clock, I believe.
I kindly task one or both of you during that meeting to have a quick discussion with Sarah Dyke about chasing for the Community Ownership Fund outcome, please, while she is present. Very much appreciated. I'll take any opportunity I can get.
I've got a couple of quick updates as well. So St Edmund's Hall up on Windmill Hill is having a whole new roof, courtesy of the insurance company, which is great. It's covered in scaffolding and the roof's going on, which is good news because it's going to get transferred to us, hopefully, with a nice new roof. Lucky us. And the Somerset Volunteer Network, you may know, they had a little allotment come advice centre in the Abbey, which they had to leave. They found alternate premises just up Silver Street, and they're moving tomorrow.
Oh, well done.
So they're really happy.
You.
They don't have to shut that allotment come advice centre, and they're moving tomorrow. It's thanks to the United Reformed Church, which happened to have a kind of vacant children's playground, which they made available.
Well done, thank you.
Any other outside groups? Oh, go on.
It's an announcement.
Go on. Yep.
It's the right place. Our community review survey is open from.
Is here?
Make sure.
Yeah, I've spread it around on my Facebook group.
That's the first. If we can encourage everyone to spread it around everywhere, please.
Yep. Councillor Cousins?
Your Worship, there is a meeting of the Glastonbury People's Trust on Wednesday the 18th of September, and as Mayor you have the great honour of being an ex officio trustee of the Trust, and I do hope that you'll be able to join us at that meeting.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Cook? Yep. Okay.
So the neighbourhood plan survey, which was supposed to go out with Royal Mail, I met one person up Windmill Hill as I was leaving the market today, and she was really concerned because she'd only just got hers and it was past the sell-by date. And I still haven't received mine up Windmill Hill, and I've been told that quite a number of other people have still not received theirs. And I was wondering, Connor, I was told that you had contacted Royal Mail, and I was wondering if there was any update, because it was a vital part of the neighbourhood plan that we do this survey and get people's opinions, and now they're worried because it's past the sell-by date.
So we have extended the closing date of the survey to take into account that there are some late deliveries. We have contacted Royal Mail. We've contacted them. We've also lodged a formal complaint. I did have a reply today that I was not content with. It basically admitted that there was a problem and sorry, we won't do it again. So I went back and said, this has had a material impact on a statutory consultation process, and we are going to incur further costs to make sure we try and reach residents who haven't had it through their letterbox, and that we want financial compensation because we spent a lot of money having that delivered.
So we might have extended the date and all the rest of it, but the people who are receiving them don't know about that. Because
I know, because they've already been printed. Sure. The only thing we can do is put out online messaging and keep the online survey still open.
These are people who are online I'm talking about. There's a lot of older people in Glastonbury who are not online and who rely on the paper.
I do not know what the solution is.
Maybe a notice in the Somerset Gazette?
I could try and get it out to the papers. Completely up to the editor what they publish, but yes, I can try.
Couldn't we? As a suggestion.
No, absolutely.
Who aren't online.
I completely get it, and I was very frustrated by the response I got from Royal Mail that basically said, yes, there's been a problem, and we won't do it again. I went back and said that's not good enough. So I haven't had a reply to my follow-up.
Thank you very much, Conor.
So I've got Councillor Cook and then several others.
Thank you. Yeah, just to respond about the neighbourhood plan. I actually got one yesterday.
Me too.
Yay.
Me too.
So, but I looked through it and okay, I'll come back to it. Now, moving on to the disappointing community one, and the disappointing result of that, 120 replies out of 7,000. That's appalling.
No,
that's a neighbourhood plan.
No, that's 150 on. That's 150 physically, but many more online replied.
Many more online.
Yeah.
But this, I'm very concerned about the community thing. I always was all the way along the meetings. I counted, it's now been published as, you know, questionnaire, etc. 508 questions. I counted 508.
No.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I counted on. Yeah, there's 30 on more or less each. Now, I hope that's not the final draft that's going out.
That's not the case. That's not the case.
You could tick.
It's 32 questions. I've got a copy here printed out. Each one has lots of options. I agree.
Yeah, so you've got to read the options.
There's 32 questions.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's slightly, but whatever. I mean, going on the neighbourhood plan results, I don't hold out my breath for that one. Okay.
So I've got a few other people who wanted to speak. Councillor Smythe, Google.
I just wanted to say that I also received one yesterday. Yeah. That was my second one.
I think Sarah successfully lobbied the post office. Councillor Cousins.
Well, I know that the correspondent for the local paper regularly watches us online, and I wonder, as he's quite happy to pick up on controversial things, Council sues post office could be an interesting headline.
Any other question? Any other contributions on this? Councillor Moodle?
Well, surely the post office should pay for our printing costs and to send the whole thing out again.
So just as a slight correction, it is actually Royal Mail. They are separate from Post Office, but I've gone back and said we are expecting financial compensation, and I'm waiting what their offer is going to be before I start negotiating with them. But I also agree that, I mean, it was meant to be delivered in a 2-week period from commencing the 12th of August, and people are only receiving them now. So something has gone quite drastically wrong, and they are across different delivery routes. So it's not just one delivery route in Glastonbury that's been affected, it's the entirety of Glastonbury. So as I say, I stated in my reply, I expect financial compensation. I'm awaiting what their offer is before I negotiate with them. But yes, I am going to push for some money back, because we're going to have to incur some cost doing something to let people know it's still open. And the consultants have to do more work analysing the data because it's open over a longer period.
Councillor Cousins and...
I would just like to reply. Let's assure the correspondent, let's not let the facts get in the way of the story.
Don't Francesco.
It's Royal Mail.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry if I missed it. What is the new deadline?
I'm afraid I don't know off the top of my head, because it's Sarah Hallam who's administering it, but we have extended it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
I think I remember to the 13th.
Right.
Of
September.
September.
Which is very soon.
13th of September.
Very good.
That's Friday.
Friday. Friday.
I'm pretty sure that's what it says if you go online.
Okay, get me quick.
Correspondence you're on now, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Can I just pass on from Simon Harding? He was hoping to get here tonight. The guy who owns the farm, I can't remember what his farm is.
Teenage Wasteland.
Is it really? Yes, of course it would be, yeah. He's slightly concerned about the Tour Fair, which is happening this weekend, which you're taking the kids around as a traditional thing, yeah?
I haven't been asked to, no.
Right, okay. Well, maybe Terry could put you in touch with that, so that can be arranged.
Okay.
But he's very concerned because last year, at the end of the fair, they decided to light fireworks, and a lot of them. And he's right next to, right opposite it's a zoo now. It's becoming an incredible venture, it really is. And he's got some lovely young'uns now that he's very concerned with about this firework if it goes off again this weekend. And I thought that there was some point where we were going to discuss that about not having fireworks down there for exactly that point of the animals down there. I do remember a conversation we had, but I don't obviously think we did anything else about it. And if there are going to be fireworks down there, should one of us go and ask at least to not do it? Especially because he's got new babies. He's got a load of new babies, isn't he?
Is it?
Yeah. Well, in that case, I think possibly I would like to suggest that we seriously consider the effect of fireworks at the Glastonbury extravaganza, this and anything else that's going on. Because it's every year we get so many people complaining about their animals being affected by fireworks, and it's not nice. It's not nice at all to see them. I had to dope one of my dogs once, and it was awful, just horrendous, and I don't want to see it again. Again, I mean, this is just me talking about my animals, sure, but I know from experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people tell me stories from their experiences. So the more that goes round, the more you realise there's a lot more people with this objection to these fireworks, especially the extravaganza. I mean, come on. So I'd like to propose that we do something about this in the future, have a debate about it, see what we can do about it.
So I think that would be a motion for follow a future meeting.
Yeah,
and
sure.
We could consider it in time for next year, which we certainly could.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit late for this year.
Yeah, definitely too late for this year. But okay. I might just go down and ask the question anyway.
Okay.
And then if we could, that's right. And the proposal would be to have one of these drone festivals.
Right. So Councillor Manning and then Napa.
I just wanted to say that the tour fair actually started tonight.
Yes.
But I also wanted to say that there was a lot of problems yesterday morning in particular. I don't know quite what happened, but there were a lot of the showman's lorries were not actually on Herbie's Field, whether it was because of the weather, but they all ended up parking along
on that road, Mere Road.
Northlow Bridge, which meant that basically the residents of Northlow Bridge were actually trapped, and they literally had to knock on the cabs of the lorry drivers' windows to wake them up to say, look, can you move your lorry because we can't get out of the road.
Yeah. Councillor Napa.
Thank you. Yeah, I spoke to the fellow down at Torview Poultry Farm, or what we want to call it, and I did say to him that you need to come up to this meeting this evening. But I think what the big problem was, what he explained to me, was the loud bangs. It wasn't the actual firework, it was the loud bangs which were scaring all his animals, and I think he had a couple of deaths last year through it. Anyway, I told him to come this evening, but obviously he's not turned out.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, it's obviously a very serious problem, and I think the whole tour fair is in the wrong place, personally, and I think we should actively be looking for somewhere on hard ground, somewhere within the perimeter of the town or just outside, where the tour fair could be moved to, and maybe then we could plant Herbie's Field to trees or something. Make use of it properly, because I don't think at the moment that I don't think it's possible to make sensible use of the place. So that would be my suggestion, is that we try and find somewhere else to move it to, and to maybe plant trees all over Herbie's Field.
So maybe see how it goes this year, and then have a kind of report, review. We should move on, but
just to reply to Steve's concern, I was told by Simon Harding that he'd spoken to the fair guys, and they couldn't park. They couldn't actually get in. They were getting stuck on the field.
I mentioned that, not me, Rick.
Was it Paul? Sorry, yeah. They were getting stuck in the field, so they thought, no, we'll wait, and hopefully today will be better. Well, it's not, is it?
Councillor Cousins?
I'm very loath to contradict Councillor Cottle, the father of the house, as it were, but the whole point of purchasing Herbie's Field was to create a permanent place for the Tour Fair, which is the second oldest fair, as you know, in the country. So I feel that it would not be wise to stop that. If people with a longer memory can remember that the Tour Fair was put into St John's car park, right in the middle of the town, on a hard standing. That did not go down well with a lot of people. And I feel that Herbie's Field is the right place. If there are issues with the land there was a hard tack was put in there so that the vehicles could be parked up and the rides could be parked up. So I'm unsure why they should have any problem in accessing that land. I don't know if the clerk can speak to that, but my feeling is that we bought that field to provide in perpetuity a space for the fair, and it really is the right place for it.
Let's see how they get on this year and then have a review. Councillor Osborne, and then...
I would just sort of really reassert what you've just said. I mean, we may have bought it for that. I mean, but if it's not working, it's not working. You've got to admit to it. If it's going to be waterlogged at the time of the fair, then let's do something else with it. And I live in St John's Square. I loved having it in there. So I think it's much better.
If we knock down Morrison's, we have...
I was just going to say that, Councillor Napper, and funnily enough, there's a little road there called Fairfield Park or something like that.
Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with John. You know, that was the reason we bought Herbie's Field. It's not an insoluble problem. If it is too wet down there, I'm sure we can do something about it. With regard to the fireworks, I have been a fairly recent addition to Tour Fair. I used to live in Fairfield Gardens when the fair was right at the end of my road. Never had fireworks in those days. And I think it's just a case of those two guys talking to each other. If they want fireworks, fair enough, but nothing too loud, nothing with great explosions, nothing with loud bangs. Consider the animals that Simon's got in his establishment down there. These are all problems that can be sorted quite easily, I think. And I agree with John that when we had the fair in St John's Car Park, although a lot of people were quite happy with it, we had a lot of flat from Norbins Road, King Street, and all around that area. It was not generally welcomed.
Anything else on this?
I'll come back, yeah.
Last word?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to come back because I might as well be honest. I was always against buying the field in the beginning, right from the beginning. And so I can be honest, I thought it was a waste of public money. And if you can make it work, fair, fine. But I didn't believe it would work in the beginning, and I have yet to be convinced. But we will see. I was the only one who was against it, I think, at the time.
Councillor Smythe.
I'd just like to remind everybody listening that that was bought by a previous incarnation of this council.
Yeah.
Certainly made up of different proportions, political parties as it is now. But nevertheless, we have spent £50,000 on it on the Accelerator Town Deal Fund, and we're obliged to use it as it was intended, at least until 2027, if not beyond.
Okay, are we happy to move on to Mayor's announcements? So we've got two announcements, I think. One is, I'm not a regular reader of the Central Somerset Gazette, but I was this week, and I'm pleased to report there were articles about the Town Council and our work on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 and 13 in this edition on the subjects of our new logo, the town toilets, the A361, our grant to the Rural Life Museum and our adaptation plans, which we launched at the Rural Life Museum. So they've done some really positive coverage of our work, and I'd like to thank them for that, especially if they're listening. There was one story in the paper which was completely untrue, which was all about the mayor being bitten by a dog, which turned up on page 1 and page 3. Page 3, it said action is needed after dog attack on town mayor, which was not me. I'm afraid that all the sympathy came to me. People knocked on my door at night time, expressing sympathy, having read this. It should have gone to Councillor Osborne, who was attacked by a dog. Somehow, anybody listening picked up a comment by Councillor Cook and wrongly thought I was attacked when it was Councillor Osborne. Anyway, I'd like to thank the newspaper for their diligence and positivity, and they're free to check the accuracy of any stories with us going forward. They're also welcome to stand up in person if they so choose. My other announcement is, you might remember about 6 or 9 months ago, we agreed to send a letter to the King inviting him to come to Glastonbury to take part in an interfaith ceremony next April. We received a letter from Buckingham Palace last week, I think, addressed to the Town Council, which Connor opened, and it's a very, very nice letter from Buckingham Palace, very politely saying no. So I'm sorry about that, but it was a good try.
It was a good try.
My only other announcement, I think, is I went to David McGeoch's final service before he left us as our vicar. He's now gone to Leighton Buzzard. So lots of people were there to wish him well, and you know, I think they've even been on a trip to Leighton Buzzard just to check he's arrived safely. Yes, that's me, I think. So we must be very nearly finished.
Your Worship, perhaps the correspondent from the Gazette should remember the old press adage, dog bites mare is not a story, but mare bites dog.
If I find a suitable dog, I will do my best. Thank you. So have we covered correspondence, communications and announcements? I think we've more or less covered that. Any items for news release? Mayor considers biting dog.
As mentioned earlier about the neighbourhood plan, that extending the deadline for those who are only just receiving their survey forms now. And maybe we extend it to the end of September, because September the 13th is upon us.
Any other items for news release? Any actions arising from the meeting?
Thank you, Worship. I have noted a number of actions. I'm, of course, going to continue with our applications to the Public Works Loan Board and provide them with the information that they need to both our county association and the government department, all the information they need. Councillors White and Don Francesco are now our representatives to the Rue Catchment Consortium, so they will take those duties upon themselves and attend those meetings and report back to the council. I've got a list of probably 15 to 20 lines of mostly double yellow lines, but other highways work that are being requested of Somerset Council. I will send that to our local traffic engineer tomorrow, and I will also ask for next year, when is the deadline that I need to get that list of works in by, because I never receive a straight answer. The recommendations that you have agreed to, those committees can continue, or those advisory committees can continue with their work. I've noted an item about considering the use of fireworks on town council land for an agenda item at the next Property and Assets Committee meeting. I have to say, I don't recall in the time that I've been here since the beginning of 2022 that topic actually coming up. No one's discussed it with me, but it can certainly come to the next Property and Assets Committee meeting, and I will try and do some research beforehand about what position other town councils do take. I know there are others that do not allow such things on their land. And obviously the items for press release, although it is very positive that our local press are taking a keener interest in what we're doing. And I hope they'll pick up a number of things from this meeting, not just about the neighbourhood plan, but I will make sure they receive some wording around that, and I will liaise internally about extending it again to the 30th, now knowing that more people are only just receiving them now. And of course, we'll continue to chase up compensation from Royal Mail.
So our next meeting is on Tuesday, the 8th of October, quite early in the month. And I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Very good.
I will not be late. Okay.
Phew.